Good morning, everyone. My name is Cassandra. I am a mindfulness teacher with Peace in Schools. I'm happy to introduce Caverly Morgan this morning. Caverly is the teacher we're blessed to have with us this morning. She is the founder and guiding teacher of Peace in Schools, the nonprofit I work for here in Portland, Oregon, which created the country's first 4-credit mindfulness elective in high schools. Caverly is also the founder and guiding teacher at Presence Collective, a nonprofit here in Portland dedicated to personal transformation and also the ignition of collective awakening. Sangha Live, this platform that we are all on, is the country's largest Dharma group that is open to anyone to join. Sangha Live relies on donations to do the work that they do to bring the teachers' wisdom that they do to all of us. So there is a green donate button below me. If you have the means to donate to Sangha Live, please do. And please know that your donation also makes these teachings and this wisdom available to those who access it but may not be able to donate or have the means to donate at this point in time in their life. So thank you in advance for taking care of us all in that way if you are able. The one thing that I'll say also about Caverly is that she leads on Wednesday nights a meditation that is usually a smaller group than what is offered here on Sangha Live. And that meditation is this evening at 7 p.m. Pacific Coast time. After the introduction, after Caverly comes on, I will post a link for that event in the sidebar. One thing to know about the meditation tonight starting at 7 is that it can take a few minutes to get sort of a password to get access to that Zoom event. So you might just give yourself a few extra minutes before logging on at 7 p.m. to make sure you're ready to start on time. This morning, the way this our time together will work, there will be about a 30-minute guided meditation, and then there will be time for questions and answers to fill the rest of the hour. Thank you so much for being here, and with that, I will bring on Caverly Morgan.
Thank you so much, Cassandra. Again, really appreciate you being here and your service. I'm just going to close a few things out. Here we go. I want to make sure you all don't have to listen to the pings of my emails as we sit. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. Hi, friends, and welcome. Welcome from the iris that are now blooming in our yard. Welcome to the iris. So please allow yourself to settle in. Lovely, as always, to see you saying hello in the sidebar. And I think, again, I'd like to just invite a bit more juice into your hello. So for today, what language would you give? Before we begin our meditation, what language would you give? Maybe a word or a phrase, one thing you long for. What is it that you long for? Just a word or phrase that encapsulates what you long for. I'd love to hear your articulation of that today. Freedom from struggle, peace, community, peace of mind, stillness, financial security, letting go, acceptance, to be of service, peace in the world, sleep and clarity. Sometimes they go hand in hand, don't they, Julian? Ease, creativity, flow, freedom, authenticity, harmony, vaccine. Yeah, long for nothing. Clarity and focus, to belong, rest, sitting with our friends in an outdoor cafe, sincerity. Peace for all earth's creatures, good health, to listen more deeply, being with my family. Thank you. Friends, it's so lovely, I think, to allow us to pause and just feel this collective longing. We can only long for that which we've tasted and we know. So let's sit and practice together and settle into that. Again, thank you. Thank you for being here. Before I ring the bell this morning, take just 1 full minute to listen to the body. Is there any place that you're holding tension that you might wish to adjust or change? Perhaps it feels good to roll the shoulders or stretch out the arms or change the position you're sitting in. With the attention, don't leave the body behind. Beginning this sit by taking 3 of the longest and deepest inhalations and exhalations you've taken yet today. Allowing the body to settle. Allowing the mind to settle. Not attempting to force the mind to be quiet. Not trying to get rid of thoughts. But allowing settling. The way the lake allows for settling of all the debris in the lake after a storm has passed. We cannot long for what we've never known. Touch, remember, and be what's most inherent and fundamental. When the mind performs its light shows and smoke screens, when the circus of activity whirls, touch and remember what's inherent. In the play, the drama, any production is no threat to you. The drama of the conditioned mind only appears to veil what's most inherent, which is that which we all long for. The peace, the ease, the clarity, the happiness. For which we all long. Be knowingly this peace, this ease. This quiet joy. Free the temptation, liberate the temptation to long for what you already are, inherently and fundamentally. Allow your practice to be the stabilization of this knowing, so that this knowing is at the forefront of experience under stress, in crisis, when life seems chaotic. This knowing still shines. This knowing's ever present, but it's veiled by the production, the conditioned drama of the mind. See through this thin veil. touch that in this knowing of what you most long for, there's nowhere that you have to go. No role you need to perform. No one you have to be. Remember inherent and fundamental. The truth of presence is not enhanced by the activity of the conditioned mind. The heart of awareness cannot be diminished by the production of the conditioned mind. Don't allow the activity of the conditioned mind to be thought of as a concrete wall. see it as a thin veil. A sheer curtain covering what we most long for and what we inherently and fundamentally are. Thank you, friends. I want to invite you to offer a donation for the teachings for Sangha Live, for all that support Sangha Live, if you're able. And if you've not attended one of these calls before, it's simple to do it. You use the green button right below me. So if you are in a position to support these teachings and moving through the world, and if you're in a position to support all those who work very, very hard to ensure that that's possible, please do. If you can't support right now, know that your presence is a support. Things will change. There will be a time in which the tide will turn. So friends, I'd love to have anyone who would enjoy coming on screen with me, anyone who'd like to ask a question or discuss practice, please. You're invited. You can also write any question or comment in the Ask a Question spot right below the screen or in the sidebar. And as we're being together, waiting to see if anyone would like to come on screen, give a word or phrase to what you're present to in this moment. Just write it in the sidebar, not a requirement, as I often mention, you're in choice. But if you'd enjoy naming what you're present to in this moment, just write that in the sidebar. Sandy, thank you for your question. And Sandy, I believe it's been the case in the past that you haven't been able to come on screen based on your circumstance, and let us know if that's shifted today. Thank you, Nikki, for naming openness. Sandy, your question. Can you expand on the significance of the Buddha's experience of being born into sheltered opulence and eventually facing reality beyond the walls? This, Sandy, I think would again be helpful if we could discuss, because there's a lot of significance. And thank you, Elaine. I just saw your question and I definitely will. I will expand on that. Sandy, if you can come on screen, it'd be great, because there's much significance, but I'd like to speak directly to you, to what you're looking at. I'm going to move forward as if that's not an option for us, because I know that it hasn't been in the past. And Ben, you asked, how do you come on screen? You just write it in the sidebar. Cassandra is working the back end of the tech today. We'll bring you on. But I'll address Sandy's question first. So thank you, Ben, for your willingness. And Karen's having trouble with the donate button. Is anyone else? The buttons aren't accessible. So the button is this green button right below me. And what a lovely, Karen, no worries at all. No need to apologize. You give us an excuse to test it out. So if anyone's willing to donate right now, maybe you could then chime in and say whether it worked for you. So Sandy, I'm going to trust that you can't come on screen right this moment. So I'm just going to speak to the first thing that arose for me upon reading your question. Thank you, Richard, for acknowledging that that button worked for you today. And thank you for donating. And thank you, Ellen, as well. So again, you could speak to many different aspects of the significance of the Buddha's experience of being born into sheltered opulence and eventually facing reality of beyond the walls. I'm going to address the parable nature of this. We are conditioned to think that if we have enough money, if we have fancy things, those things will bring us happiness. So again, this is just one place in the teaching of the Buddha's life that we could point to. We're conditioned to think that it is through objects that we will experience, in keeping with today's themes, will experience that for which we most deeply long. So I can tie this to the question Elaine wrote in. I had difficulty understanding what's meant by inherently and fundamentally. Can you explain? I'm new. So thank you for writing that. And it relates to what Sandy's looking at. The Buddha had to leave the experience of this opulence because he knew in the marrow of his bones that those objects were not going to bring him what he most deeply longed for. He was called to know something that for the purposes of today I've been referring to as inherent. So if you are on this call, you've likely had the experience that the new car is not what's going to make you happy. Perhaps you experience some happiness that's momentary. The new job, the new partner, changing the external circumstances might bring some relief. And there's a validity to that, especially if you've been struggling. But to confuse that relief with the ever-present fundamental peace that is the backdrop of all experience is a mistake in practice. So what the Buddha was facing in light of today's theme, what he was facing was the reality that those things weren't going to lead him. The opulence wasn't going to lead him to what he most deeply longed for. So this facing reality was the facing of experience, the moving into experience. So there could be a reconciliation of sorts. So he could know the truth of his experience. How can he know the inherent peace of true nature? Was it through new shiny objects? He knew not, just as you likely know not. Otherwise, again, I don't think you'd be on this call. But we fall for that conditioned story, don't we? That changing externals will bring about liberation. Liberation is known as we realize what's unchanging. So Elaine and Sandy, again, I wove your questions together. I look forward to seeing if that touched what you're exploring. So let's see if we could get Ben to come on screen. Adriana, I see that the donate button didn't work for you with an old computer using Chrome. There's a link, so please try that link that Cassandra posted above. Hello, Ben.
Hi, how you doing?
Great. Where are you?
I'm in Beacon, New York.
Wonderful. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah.
So, my question is, it's a little bit different than what you were talking about in the meditation. I'm very new. I've only been meditating for 2 months, and I've been doing Zen meditation with an online Sangha since the coronavirus hit, and it was really interesting to hear about remembrance. It's, I've just been focusing on my stabilizing my mind. I haven't been going farther than that. My question is that I saw the video that you made with the organization about mindfulness in schools, and I thought that was really awesome. I definitely wished if I was in high school that there was a program like that. And I was, for a while, I was really, I was thinking like, oh, maybe that's what I want to do. I'm going to college in the fall, and maybe at Naropa University. And I was thinking about doing maybe some form of psychology and education and do that at some point. My one question is, because you know about this mindfulness in schools more than me, is that I've found that as I've gone on this spiritual journey, like I've sort of gotten not what always I expected. And like the idea of like, oh, if I do the spiritual journey, maybe I'll have less anxiety, or maybe I'll be able to be more cool with friends or something like that. And sometimes you get that, but you get a lot of other stuff too. A lot of things maybe that are uncomfortable. And I was wondering, now I'm going to the whole crux of the question. I was wondering how you deal with that with high school kids who may not be expecting that, maybe with parents who are like, what's going on with my kid? And I'm really interested in pursuing this. So I wanted to know your thoughts on it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ben. And please stay on screen so that we can have a back and forth. Thank you for being here. And thanks for that question. First, I want to reflect to you that it's an incredibly beautiful thing. Like if you meet someone who just says, I just entered a new relationship, and there's this sort of spark of enthusiasm around this like new sweetheart. You have a little shared sense of joy for them, don't you? And I wanted to just acknowledge I have a shared sense of joy around your commitment to follow this thread of what is practice all about. What is this? What's available to me? Oh, it's not exactly what I thought it was going to be. I wanted some like a decrease of anxiety, or I wanted to have this experience of, being kind of up on this like trends, and there's more there, and it's not actually always comfortable. And so I want to reflect to you that to follow that call, even knowing that it's not what you thought it was going to be and that it can be uncomfortable, speaks to the sincerity of your own longing. So, Ben, there's a woman on this call. She's titling these meditations, and she knows that one of my favorite stories on this topic is that when she first came to meditation, if I'm remembering correctly, it's because her doctor said, oh, meditation could lower your blood pressure or heart rate or something. So she was like, okay, I'll go do meditation. But little did she know that she'd be like questioning identity, questioning the nature of reality, finding out like what her greatest condition demons were, being called to face them rather than distract herself or run away from them. Like little did she know. But here she is. Over a decade later, I've been connected with this beautiful soul who's very sincere and committed to truth and to our deepest knowing and to liberation. So I offer that because for those who truly want to sail, you know, we might have the image of sailing that looks really great and peaceful, and we're like on the YouTube viral video, like hanging off, looking awesome. But we know if we start sailing that we're going to be capsized. We're going to like learn things the hard way. We're going to sometimes be like deeply submerged in the water. So we have to be willing to say yes to all of that, not because it's like this mentality of like, you got to take the good with the bad, but because it's through those experiences that we become more stable in the knowing of who we are. And that is what you long for. It's not a problem if something that seems more surface draws us to the practice, right? Like, oh, I just want to lower my blood pressure. That's what gets us in the door. Great. But those who really want to know this, to go back to this framing of what's inherent and fundamental, who really want to know that, will find the willingness to stick in there as everything arises to potentially distract us. There's a great story you should look up, Ben. I invite you to look up. That's about the Buddha sitting underneath the Bodhi tree, and everything that could possibly, you know, he had this commitment. I'm going to sit here until I know my inherent liberation, until I know it. And then all the different forms of suffering came. He had to say yes to those, not run off with them, but say, yes, these are here, but I'm sitting here. So this is an important thing that you're touching, this call to know, to commit, to be with the discomfort, knowing that there's use in it. As you know, Ben, as a younger person, younger than me anyway, you know that there is just no shortage of distraction. There's no shortage of things that you could give your attention to, run off with, and then wake up like 5 years later and be like, what the hell have I been doing? That's not bad or wrong. But in the same way that you're saying, wow, I would have benefited from a class like that in high school, I meet people all the time that are saying to me, they're 60, 65, 70, 75 years old saying, oh, if I'd known about this when I was middle-aged. So just say thank you that you know about it now. That you know that peace, the peace of your own being, to live that liberation is possible. Say thank you. And as the Buddha pointed out, there is a way to experience that. Countless pathways offering various windows, doorways into that experience. So if you sign on for this practice fully, you will never be bored. Because you've begun this love affair. And if you've ever been in a significant, loving relationship, you know that it's not always bright, shiny lights. Don't long for the Hollywood version of your life. Trust that your freedom lies in knowing how to be with what is, to move into what is. With me?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Hope to see you again.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for calling in. All right. Friends, we're just about at our time. And I was just reading a few of these other questions to see if any of them are short. But I am, let's see if I'll read Sharon's briefly and then see whether it's a short answer. Thank you for writing in, Sharon. I hope to stay up for class tonight, but my struggle is with forgetting during formal practice. Does it make sense for my formal practice to be a concentration practice so that informal remembering may occur more often? Alternatively, is being okay with forgetting during practice a practice in itself? I feel a bit lost in my practice. Sharon, based on the time, let's bring this into tomorrow's call. If you're able to show up for tomorrow, if you can come tonight, that would give us an even more full opportunity for exchange. As you know, Wednesday nights are just a smaller gathering, and because it's Zoom, it's very, very easy for us to see each other. But let's dive into detail with your question tomorrow morning, because again, just based on time, I want to do it. I want to do it. Do it justice. Give it the service. The words aren't coming to me, but I think you know what I mean. I wanna honor what you're putting forward. Give it the attention it deserves. So thank you for writing in, Sharon. If I see you tonight, wonderful. And if I don't, I will be bringing this question to tomorrow's group. Thank you. Friends, lovely to see you. Thanks for being